Hey Marty, I'd like to invite you to a party.
A party, you say?
Yes, a party to celebrate 20 years of World of Warcraft.
20
Interested?
years? Yeah, could be.
Well, we're going to have so many cool things there. We're going to have, a place to show off your mounts that you've earned.
Ooh.
And what else have we got? We're going to have a fashion show.
Ooh.
You'd fit right in there. You look so good. Probably win it.
Fashion show, you got me. Got me interested.
We've even found this panda to tell some stories as well, from old times.
Ooh. Okay. It sounds interesting. I could be persuaded for that. Where is it?
It's in the desert, Marty. It's in Tanaris.
I think I have a dentist appointment. I can't go. I'm sorry. Welcome back to Talking WoW. It's been 20 years, not since we had our last episode, but since the game came out, and we're celebrating that with a patch. And to help me celebrate, I have Tom by my side. How you doing, Tom?
Hey, Marty, good to be here and, dressed to impress. I'm representing the Alliance today with my tie, apparently. And, get ready to talk about the incredible,
Hulk.
or maybe not incredible, celebrations that are happening in World of Warcraft.
It's not just, as we have come to know it, a small event like, the much celebrated Hearthstone event. This is actually this is actually like a full patch full of stuff. And when I heard this initially, I was like, this sounds like this could actually be a good event. Big question is it?
Is it? And honestly, you know what? I think I'm still working that one out. Well, let's start with the good, right? Because there is some good there, except the fact that it is in a desert and we're getting sand in our toes. But, very excitingly, we got a whole bunch of, new stuff, like a revisiting, Marty, an old raid, an old dungeon that's been turned into a raid, Blackrock Depths. And, we've always joked around, haven't we, that Blackrock Depths probably could have been a raid. Now it is.
It could have been. It was a huge place. It was also something that you don't see in retail these days any longer. Like it was like a huge, not even a mega dungeon like we know them. It was just a huge, super mega, extreme big dungeon. Mega dungeon where you could do like, I think the community decided to split it up into two sides, and you could do, and so it was sort of like wing A and wing B, but you could also just do the whole shebang if you wanted to, or you could go in and be very surgical and being like, I have this particular quest and I need to get that done so I can get into Blackwing Lair or whatever you were doing, or Molten Core, I believe. So yeah, it was just like, there was so many things going on in this particular dungeon, and there was so many different reasons why you wanted to go in there. So yeah, it could.
And rumor has it as well, Marty, that some people went in there 20 years ago and they're still in there. They're still in there killing bosses.
Yeah,
so that's how big it was.
Still trying to get that gladiator set from the bosses. So yeah, and now it is a raid.
Yeah, it feels like almost like a perfectly natural, transition to that. And, they've given it a little bit of coat of paint as well, haven't they? Mm-hmm. Obviously give the bosses more health so that they don't die straight away. And actually one thing I'm really enjoying about, jumping into this raid, and I've only done it on the hardest difficulty, LFR, is the fact that there's these little energy balls.
Actually, for a change, LFR is actually not the hardest difficulty. The hardest difficulty actually is the hardest difficulty on this one. Who would have known?
20 years on, things continue to surprise us. And yeah, one of the things I'm really enjoying is these like missives, these like memories almost that like Moira Bronzebeard sort of located around BRD, and she's almost like telling you the story of Pharisian and the downfall of that. And it's actually quite nice to get a bit of context, I think, from Blackrock Depths, because obviously there was some context there back in Classic, but I don't think it was quite as obvious. It was just sort of, hey, go in there and kill all those dwarfs, you know? So
I really find it so funny because I know you and I talked about it, and you were like, oh, we're going in there and we're actually, you know, saving her. And I'm like, yeah, we did that 20 years ago too. It was the whole, you know, that was the whole conclusion of the dungeon. And she's even, I think Moira's even saying that. I think she has like a you know, a yell or say in the dungeon as well, whereas he's like, oh no, it's my, you know, husband or whatever. So it's one of those things where I was like, don't you remember, Tom?
I don't remember. It's so long ago. Who remembers? Who remembers 20 years ago? Not I, Marty.
Apparently not you. No. So, but yeah, it's true.
So yeah, jumping in there, and I don't know. Like, I think it's one of those places that, you know, it's fun to go back and do a few times. But I don't know. I'm at sort of the point where I've done it a few times now, Marty, that I'm like, I don't know if I need to keep doing it. I don't know how you feel, because you're doing it on the harder difficulties. So.
Oh no, I'm not. I have done it on normal. I think the guild originally wanted to go in and do it on heroic, but what we heard was that because we have some mythic progressing friends who are way better players than we are, in some aspects at least, and they were like, they went into heroic and were like, wow, this place is slapping us hard. So the guild changed course and went in on normal, did it, and had a good time. I was like, yeah, that's it. We don't really, you know, want or need to do this too much more on top of that. And one of the reasons is not just, you know, it's a fun raid, but it also sort of feels like they took the loot that dropped and just bumped it up, so it got the high item level.
Yep.
I don't know if it's 1-to-1. I didn't do my research on that one. But mastery, for instance, the stat mastery wasn't a thing back then, so it's very limited with mastery items. So if you are a mastery user, which all my characters apparently are, or at least the ones I play, there's not too much, you know, too many interesting things from in there loot wise. And that's why we do it. We do it for the loot, right?
Well, apparently so. No other reason than that. But it sort of gets me thinking, right? Because when this event first went live, we also had time walking, which took us back to some classic dungeons as well. You know, we got to go back to some of the Dire Malls, Strathholm, and Zul'Furak. So I sort of wonder, you know, great to go back to those dungeons as well, by the way, you know, in the original form. Dead Mines, OG Dead Mines. Oh my God, how I've missed thee. Van Cleef Bay, big for your head, Marty, I tell you. So it's good to be back. So I sort of wonder if with this time walking, when it comes back, will they bring like BRD back, like as a raid temporarily? You know, because it sort of feels like, why would they do that then, just to take it away after the end of the event, which, you know, the event lasts for a considerable amount of time, you know, several months, but still feels like, why would you do that? Just, I mean,
obviously we don't know what's going to happen yet, but I mean, it would totally make sense because not all of them, but most of the time walking weekends have raid attached to them. So if this is going to be a part of the rotation, the vanilla dungeons, then most likely that will be a raid. One thing though that I'm like, it's very cool, it's awesome, and I'm very thankful that we finally have some OG dungeons in the time walking pools, but I'd like to see some of the other ones. Am I being greedy? I mean, the pick, that was a good pick, but I mean, why do we need, you know, both Stratholme, both Dire Malls? Why not spread them out a little bit so we can see? Well,
what are you missing?
More?
What do you want?
Skullomance comes to mind. I would love to get back to that. That's, you know,
but we've been doing that like so many times in Mop Remix.
But it's also
we're tired of that one, Marty.
It's a good dungeon, and I believe that you know, the version that exists right now is the Cataclysm one. So go back and get OG Skullomance back. Scarlet Monastery is also like a big one. Was like,
but we can do the OG Scarlet Monasteries.
Yeah, I think they're available now, but when you're normally leveling, then you would just you would get
fair.
the Cataclysm ones.
Yeah.
It would be cool to get those in, and I mean there's so many even.
Don't you dare say Razorfen Crawl or something like that. Don't come on here and start saying stuff like that.
No, I'm just saying that there was a lot of cool dungeons where I'm like, I would love to see more of those in the pool, because I think obviously vanilla World of Warcraft had so many dungeons because it was a huge the whole leveling experience. It would be cool to actually see them as time walking, or even potentially some of them would be cool Mythic Plus dungeons if they got a little bit updated. That's for the future. Just putting
that's a discussion for another time, isn't it? teasing potential things like that. But yeah, so we've got the raid, we've got some older dungeons. Something that I feel like does not deserve much of our time is the Codex of Chromie.
Yeah, it seems I don't really know what the idea was, and it's not to completely just shit all over it, but it sort of feels like a little bit pointless to me. I've done it a few times, and I don't really know. There was an idea there, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what to say right now. So
then we shall move on. You do get a bit of bronze for doing that, though, so that might be one of the only reasons you do it. And earning the bronze, Marty, the anniversary currency. I mean, that's what we're all about, right? Collecting bronze so we can buy. Probably, the thing you're going to want the most is the tier 2 remastered sets, which some wonderful looking sets there that you might want to acquire for your characters. And
yes,
I think when that first launched, wasn't there a bit of confusion around that?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of confusion about how do you acquire the bronze and the speed that you would acquire it, because people wanted everything, and since this was a celebration of tier 2, it felt weird that it was so time gated. There were some achievements that said something along the lines of when you've collected 100 of these bronze tokens, then you would be able to unlock even more daily, but we didn't really know what that meant. So I think that the first week there was a big case of FOMO going around. I mean, myself included, because I started making a spreadsheet where I'm like, all right, so if we can get how many can we get a week and stuff like that, and where do you get them from? And I actually think that it did help some people as well, because there was a lot of people that didn't realize that you would also get it from your normal weekly stuff. So because
in fact you end up getting probably majority of your bronze from doing the War Within stuff, which I actually found a little bit weird, because initially you go to the staging area of this party and you're like, oh well, look at all these quests, this must be how I get the bronze, and actually it was actually no, this is not how you get the bronze. So
it's also how you get the bronze, but it's not where you get the majority of your bronze.
No.
Well, I think it was actually before the changes, because then after the first week, Blizzard did up how much you would get from the sources from the World Within, weeklies and things like that. So and then once we started seeing people hitting that 100 tokens, we realized that so every time you do a time walking dungeon, you would get some bronze. Every time you did the raids, you would get some bronze. The Blackrock Depths raid. And stuff like that, and I quickly realized that I can get everything in a week, within the second week if I wanted to, and apparently I did want it, because I got everything collected in the first,
even the mage set,
even the mage set,
good,
even though it's purple.
So it's a real party down in Tanaris, and I guess they said it there because it's right by the Caverns of Time, but I don't know, Marty, we hinted at it in our intro, but you're sitting in a desert. Imagine going to a party and, they've set all the food out in the beating heat of a desert and sand everywhere. I don't know. I'm not really going to be enjoying a couple of cocktails.
I don't know too much about American music festivals, but isn't Burning Man
Yes.
in a desert.
True. So we're comparing the 20 years of WoW Celebration to Burning Man. Say about that what you will. Stay hydrated as well, Marty. Good.
Yeah. We need to stay hydrated in the desert. But I mean, there's so many small, cool events going on. Just walking around the staging area. I think it's pretty cool. Also, just seeing the NPCs chat with each other and things like that. I mean, it's probably something you only do it a few times, like just the different events that are around the ground. But I think it was fun, just walking around and participating and voting for best trans walks. And I won one of them.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't. That was probably my least favorite one because obviously Trial of Style, fun thing.
I think Trial of Style is better, but for what it was, I think it was pretty good fun.
Yeah, it was just sort of a nod to Trial of Style, I suppose. But then obviously you got like Lord Walker Cho telling stories, which great, takes you back to sort of missed times, and his little jokes in there as well about how do you say that old god from Anchorage, that giant artichoke. So that's sort of fun. Like the first time you do it, very fun, but not very repeatable. I'd probably say the only one that does feel fun to repeat is Mount Mania, which I hope actually, I feel like Mount Mania deserves to like end up in the Darkmoon Fair or something. Just it feels like something that's just kind of fun and just a great way to sort of show off your mount collection. And
I won that one.
I think
it was early in the morning though. There was not a lot of people online.
And just seeing that, I think as well, like collectively as a community, seeing what mount they were going to show off. And, sometimes they're showing off like a trading card mount or something, literally they're pulling from every single mount in the game. And you definitely feel that disappointment from the crowd when the computer mounts up on something that's very, very rare. So that was I think that's been a massive success actually.
Yeah, there is also a little bit more secret things going on that we cannot talk about because they are secrets. But I will say that I'm enjoying these secret events going around. Maybe it's something we'll talk more about in a different episode at some point. But really that
does seem to be honest, out of everything, like that seems to be the MVP of this event. Obviously, we do talk about events that happen in World of Warcraft on this podcast, and I think generally most events are disappointing. Will I say this event has blown me away? Absolutely not. I almost feel like, for a base default for an event, it should sort of be around this standard. This should sort of be almost the bare minimum for a event. Because while there's a lot, feels like there's a lot, I actually don't think there's actually a lot. If that makes sense, because obviously like a raid and revamping a raid and having some like dungeons and things, very nice. But overall, like when you sort of break it down, I don't know, it doesn't feel quite as big as maybe I anticipate it to be. And that's not me saying like I don't enjoy it, but looking back at events we've had in the past that have been very lackluster, obviously this event is going to look better than all of those previous events. The Hearthstone event, which you mentioned, and I threw up a little. So again, like if this, and I don't think it will be because this is the 20-year event. So I sort of feel like this should be like the new standard for events. I'm like, don't do events very regularly, but if we're going to have an event, like give it some bells and whistles. And I actually like the fact that, yes, you have to, they've got the little staging area where something's happening like every 15 minutes. It's happening every 15 minutes. There's some like time stuff. And I think that doesn't feel too, committing, where in the past where we've had, go kill this boss every hour, where right now we have, the world bosses up, Marty, out in the world, and you can go there anytime and do it. And I think the War Within has just very much encouraged doing stuff when you have the time, less about needing a bus timetable in your hand and showing up in places at the right time.
Absolutely. And what do you think, you who are listening, watching, whatever you're doing with your ears and eyes, do you like this event, or do you disagree with us? Let us know. We on social media. We on Blue Sky, where you can let us know. Also, you can comment if you're watching on YouTube. Right below here, you can also subscribe and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's us for this week. I've been Marty.
I've been Tom.
And we've been talking WoW.
Thanks for tuning in, champion. Did you enjoy this episode of Talking WoW? If so, why not drop a review on your podcast catcher of choice, or leave us a comment. You can find Talking WoW on
Blue Sky
or YouTube over at Talking WoW. Hope to see you again soon.